Okay, folks, here's a plumb line that helps us decide what is risky and what is too risky. And it's simply this: if you can't live with a worst case scenario, don't risk it. You know, sometimes we get the idea that we should be completely risk adverse. And I always like to point out to people, if you are risk adverse, you will be success adverse. That life always has risk to it. You know, I find a church planting movement that overassesses and makes sure every church planter they send out has no chance of failure ends up being a church planting movement that doesn't plant any churches. I remind you, the Apostle Paul planted some pretty lame churches. That's why he had to write all of those letters. And so life is going to be full of risk. If you're going to move forward, you're going to make lots of mistakes. But the one thing we have to always watch out for is that we never allow ourselves to make what we should have known ahead of time is a fatal mistake. And so I always like to ask the question, what is the worst that could happen here? And in a worst case scenario, if I can't live with it, then I shouldn't go down that path. I never want to simply go, well, that's very unlikely to happen or probably won't happen, because the moment I do that, guess what? It probably will happen. So let's imagine you're sending your youth out on a youth event. You would not want to send them out on a river rafting trip where 5 people have died on that river in the last 2 years on river rafting things, or with a group that has no experience or no insurance. Because if a tragedy were to happen, and that was to be the background of it, that's a risk you can't take. But guess what? Every time you send kids out on a river rafting trip, there is the possibility, there is the risk that something horrific can happen. But if I have managed that risk, if it is a carefully taken risk, if I've checked the insurance, if I've checked the background, that hasn't happened to anybody in the past, I might have a lawyer or an insurance agent whispering in my ear, oh, don't take any risk, don't take any risk. I'm still going to take that risk. You can carry this out not only to camps, but you can carry this out to ministry expansion, to staff that you hire, pretty much everywhere. What you want to do is you want to run things through the grid of, can you live with a worst case scenario? And as sad as I would be with certain outcomes, if I can look somebody in the eye and say, honestly, I've done my absolute best, we were careful, we checked off the boxes, we did all we could, I would be heartbroken by what happened, but I would not be broken by what happened. Risk. Never take a chance you can't live with.